His name is Jim, and guess what? Parkinson's decided to live with him as well. So we're going to kick it off and just discuss this go around, how we found out and what our reaction was when we were diagnosed with this brain disease called Parkinson's. A lot of people don't really know much about Parkinson's. They just think that we get the tremors. Well, you don't always have to have just the tremors. There are many other symptoms as well, and everybody is different. And what I like about Jim and I is that we found out at different times in our life. Our symptoms are very much the same, but they're not. How we accepted the diagnosis, I think, is different, and what we're doing about it is different. I personally think, Jim, you're more involved than I am. It's not that I'm in denial. It's just that I can't bother with that today. So, there could be a cure out there, and I don't even know about it. I'm still sort of struggling along with this Parkinson's. But unfortunately, there isn't a cure, and we have to live with it, and we have to maintain the best quality life that we can make of it ourselves. So, question, how did you find out? What were your triggers that made you go to the doctor and say, hey, I've got something like funky going on here?
Yeah. My initial symptom, my most minor symptom that started off was a tremor in my hand. And when I would type, the middle finger on my right hand would spasm on the I key. Yeah. And I found that I couldn't double click on things. I had to switch the mouse to the left hand. And initially I just attributed it to my forearm was sore. So I thought I must have pulled a muscle. I have a pinched nerve. I kind of wrote it off for a while. It didn't really get worse for a while. And then it started to get worse. I went to a neurologist in St. Cloud who said, you're too young to have Parkinson's. You have essential tremor. And I thought, well, that's good. I'd rather have essential tremor than Parkinson's. She gave me some medication. Medication made me very sleepy. Didn't help with the tremor. So I said, screw this medication. I'm not going to take it. And I didn't. And then over the next year and a half, 2 years, the tremor got worse. To the finally, I got to the point I guess this essential tremor thing is kicking my butt. I better go back on the medicine. Mm-hmm. So she put me on the medicine. Didn't help. Went back after a few months. She upped the medicine. Still didn't help. In the meanwhile, I'd been reading on the internet and stuff about Parkinson's disease and essential tremor. And I kept thinking there'd be columns. This is a symptom of essential tremor. This is a symptom of Parkinson's. And I'd be like, no, essential tremor. Yes, Parkinson's. And I thought, I must be crazy. Why would I want to have Parkinson's, So we went back to the doctor. My wife went with me. And at this point, she knew he was a ARNP or some kind of nurse's assistant or something. She knew him from work. And we said, it sounds like it's more like Parkinson's. And he actually paid attention. And he put me through some tests, do this, walk this way. He goes, yeah, this looks like Parkinson's, which wasn't exactly the news I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear, you're crazy. It's not Parkinson's, So we ordered a DAT scan. And meanwhile, they started me on medication, levodopa. And I took the medication like the next night, sitting there watching TV, my hand stopped shaking in like 20 minutes. I thought, this is good news, but it's also bad news. The good news is the medicine works. The bad news is that's because you have Parkinson's. So we went ahead, did the DAT scan, and I grabbed the disc, put it in, I looked at the pictures, and I looked up on the internet what it looks like if your DAT scan is positive for Parkinson's. So it was kind of a no-brainer. But we were disenchanted by this doctor's office. So I said, let me go up to UF. My sister pulled some strings. She knew some people at UF, got me into the clinic there, and they looked at the DAT scan, did similar tests, but yeah, you have Parkinson's. So that was when it kind of was like, this is for real. This is the best in the business. They know you've got Parkinson's,
Right. Well, I don't want to diss your doctor, your initial doctor, because that's not what we're about. But I just want to comment, like, has she never heard of Michael J. Fox, who was diagnosed at 27, and even Muhammad Ali? He was diagnosed later, but he had already had it. They just thought it was, being knocked in the head so many times.
Yeah.
Which really amazes me, but I'm not going to go there.
No, it's water under the bridge.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think the important thing is, too, in hindsight, if you think you have Parkinson's or you suspect you have Parkinson's, find somebody who specializes in movement disorders.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I mean, great point. And I think that that's something that is well worth repeating as well, to
Yeah.
find somebody in that area of
Yeah.
brain disease.
Yeah.
So,
And then,
you
I was going to say, Margaret, when
Mhm.
you look back in hindsight, there were other symptoms. Prior to my diagnosis, I got up one night and collapsed, and they sent me to the hospital, and I got stitches in my head, and they couldn't figure out why. But one of the things with Parkinson's is your blood pressure can be unregulated. So for some reason, my blood pressure dropped tremendously, and I passed out. That was hindsight.
Yeah.
Another thing was my running. I've always been a runner. I've run, half marathons, was getting slower and slower. And I was like, well, I'm over 50 now. That's normal. But but it became drastic. I went from 9-minute miles to 12-minute miles,
Yeah.
So when you look back on some of these things that I was writing off to age or exercise or sore muscles, it was probably indications of Parkinson's in hindsight.
Yeah, like you, now that you say it, and I didn't even think this until now, there was one occasion where I actually went downstairs to get some tea, and I dropped to the floor because my blood pressure had dropped, and I had never had any blood pressure issues. So, I just put it down to work, because worked ungodly hours. And so, like you said, there were little things that I think back on, thinking I'm having a heart attack, but it's anxiety, and anxiety is one of the symptoms of Parkinson's, or could be, depends if you have it or not.
Yeah.
But I just remember myself walking up to work one day. The parking lot was on a slight incline, and I just remember my right arm felt heavy, and it just didn't move. And like you, when I ran, I couldn't keep a balanced or rhythmic run. And so I went to my doctor. She referred me to a neurologist. And, he made me do that, and he made me walk, and he goes, "You got Parkinson's." So I sort of basically turned around to him and said, "Oh, fuck, that's sort of shit." Hence the name of the podcast, Make Shit Happen. And being a nurse, I already sort of kind of knew that this was on the trail that I was on. So once you were diagnosed, what was your immediate thought when your doctor said to you, "Jim, you have Parkinson's"?
Yeah, I was very upset, and I told him flat out, I said, "I'm fucked." I said it, and I felt kind of bad saying it because there was a woman in the room too, but I said, "I'm fucked. I have an incurable degenerative neurological disease." And they go, "Well, you don't know how it's going to progress." I go, "I know it's not going to get better." So I kind of varied between being really pissed off to really sad. I kind of went back and forth between the two,
What were you sad about? Well, explain.
Well, yeah, when you envision your future with Parkinson's disease, you envision yourself as someone who's going to have to be cared for, as opposed to in my 70s when I thought I'd retire. Actually, I did not plan to retire. I planned to keep working until I was probably 70. I have the summers off, so we travel. We do exciting trips over the summers because our house is paid for now. Our cars are paid for now. I was really getting ready to open up this great stage in my life, And I looked at it and go, well, is that on the table still? So it was a kick in the teeth.
And family-wise, Janet, how did she deal with this?
Janet's been my rock. She's doing a great job. She's very, very supportive every step of the way. She goes with me to every doctor appointment. She goes with me when I go to the support group meetings. She says she's in this to the end. So she's great.
I take my hat off to you because, as I said in the beginning, I'm not in denial. You can't be with Parkinson's. You have it, and you're going to have it, and it's going to get worse. And we pretty much have to accept that, but we have to make some life changes. Are there any significant big life changes on just your daily activities? And not things like taking a vacation every month. Your daily activities, when you get up in the morning, when you get dressed and all that stuff. Have you changed anything?
Somewhat. I've got exercises that the occupational therapist and the physical therapist gave me to do that seem to help with the pain in my hip and legs, the pain in my arm. So I try and do those pretty regularly. The biggest change day to day kind of thing is timing my meds. You know, if I get up in the morning and I eat, then I can't take my pills until like an hour and a half later. So I drive to work shaking, you know, get in the parking lot at work. I look at my watch, you go, kids will be here soon, take the pills, you know. So I
Uh-huh.
try and time my pills so I'm on when I'm at work. And, you know, if we go somewhere, I got to make sure I take pills with me. You know, if we go out, we're going out to dinner. What if we decide to go somewhere after dinner? Well, I better have my pills on me in case I need them later
Mhm.
on, you know.
Mhm.
So the day-to-day activities is just structured around my pill times, getting my PT, getting my OT, get my exercise, try and get my sleep, try and eat healthy, just the normal things like that.
It's like a whole new management system. You have to manage your regular life, and then you have to manage this person that's moved in with you named
Yeah.
Parkinson.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it is a whole nother job. Um, are you really? Because I am terrible at my medication. You know, I'll sort of sometimes totally forget. And for those people who are watching and listening, when we talk about on and off, when we're on, it means our medication, we've taken our medication, it's working.
Mm-hmm.
Off, we may have taken our medication and for some reason it's just not fucking working at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's the off switch. And the off switch can be very painful. People
Mm-hmm.
realize that Parkinson's can be painful. We don't just shake and have the tremors and that. We actually do have pain. So that's when we talk about on and off means that we're okay or that we are, you know, a little bit sucky for a while. So,
Yeah. For me, I don't have to worry about remembering my medication because what happens with me is my medication pretty at this stage controls my tremors pretty darn well.
yeah.
And after about 4 hours, the tremor starts to sneak back in. So it's almost like one of my coworkers goes, "Do you set an alarm?" I go, "No, my hand starts shaking." And if I
Mm,
wait too long, my foot starts shaking. And then
mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, I look at my watch and go, "Yeah, it's time to take your pills."
Yeah.
Luckily, when my medicine is working, I'm pretty well, you know, under control. But when it
Right.
stops working, then I can't type, I can't do stuff like that.
Right. You know, myself, I will say when there are times, as you say, I mean, our medication is a drug. It lasts this long and it switches on and it switches off. You know, it's
Right.
we don't even have to look at a clock. We know
Right.
what time it is based on our body reaction. But I will tell you that I have experienced times where I'm either doing art or I'm having a great conversation or my day is going well, that I'm just going to pull out my 3 o'clock medication. I seem to breeze through that. So I do know for myself, my environment and my stress levels play a lot in how my medication is affecting me. And
Yeah,
some,
wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, when I'm
I,
off on the weekends, my tremors are much more under
yeah,
control than when
yeah,
I'm at work. Yeah,
yeah.
I guess it's the stress, I assume. But yeah, the same thing. On the weekends, it's hard to tell, you know, how my tremors are progressing because they're better on the weekends when I'm not working. But on the weekdays when I am working, it's definitely worse.
So, what would you say to a person that was just had their diagnosis? What give me something that you would say to me if I walked out and guess what? I got Parkinson's.
Yeah, I would say make sure you do the steps to get yourself as healthy as possible. You know, exercise. The only thing that is research based that's effective at delaying the onset of the progression of Parkinson's is exercise. So keep yourself moving. Doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's an exercise, you'll follow through it. If you play basketball, play basketball. If you play tennis, play tennis. If you like to run, run, swim, whatever. Do something to keep yourself moving. Definitely, if you haven't seen a movement disorder specialist, see a movement disorder specialist. Make a log of your medications if you need to see how they're working for you because they can up your debt or up or decrease your medication if needed. Just be very proactive about your health.
Yeah. And I would add, coming from a really non social person, be social.
Yeah.
because you don't want to be social when you've got Parkinson's. You do
Yeah.
retract from what you would normally do. And it's not a death threat. It totally, and I will say this 100%, it sucks. I
Yeah.
don't wish it upon anybody. It's huge interference in one's life, but just keep moving, like you say, keep moving with your brain, keep moving with your body,
Yeah.
and just, make shit happen. You have to
Yeah.
make it happen. So, talk to me a little bit about when you told your family.
Yeah, I told my sister right away. I didn't tell my mom right away because she's an older woman. She has her own health problems. My stepdad had health problems. He just passed away. So I didn't want to kind of throw something out at her. But at some point, I must have told her because she knew I had Parkinson's. Now, I don't remember telling her. And as I told my sister, I have a brain disorder. So maybe I told her, I just don't remember. Because my sister swears she didn't tell her. And I know Janet didn't tell her. So I must have told her at some point. Because my sister goes, Mom called and said you have Parkinson's. I'm like, oh, I guess I told her. I don't remember doing that. So I don't know. My sister's been very supportive. She sent me some books about Parkinson's disease. One of them was written by one of the people at UF. She helped me get into the UF clinic. So my sister's been wonderful. My mom asks how I'm doing all the time. So they've been very supportive.
Cool. Well, I am going to end this first. I thought our conversation was great, and I think that there is a lot that people can get out of it, whether they know about Parkinson's or not. And we're not going to end here, folks. And the reason why I asked Jim who he told and when he told is because I'm just going to hold you guys in suspense, because next time we're going to chat on what their reaction was, because we've already spoken about how we reacted to this brain disease. But, it's not a disease that you can go it alone. It's a disease that you have to have friends and family and workers, because it affects your work. And how are you dealing with that? It affects your parents. How are they dealing with it? And sometimes you have to monitor them as well, because they may also think that this is a death sentence. And then you have others that don't really care a damn, and life goes on. So